Georgia Northwestern Technical College wants to help put you to work. Our programs in business, health, industrial, and public service will train you for the jobs available today. GNTC offers schedules in day, evening, and online classes at 5 campus locations with financial aid options too. You are sure to find a career path that works for you with our variety of degrees, diplomas, and certificates available. Visit us in person or on the web at gntc.edu. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your career begins here.
Yes. Welcome to Gridiron Central. I'm your host, Jim Allred, joined by my tag team partner, Matt Davis from 95.7 The Ridge, and we're heading into another big week of high school football. We don't have the glamorous games this week, but we have a lot of games that could have region implications. We're going to start out as Model travels to Chattooga. Chattooga last week beat Gordon Lee. Of course, Model fell to Coosa last week. They're 2-2 in the region. Chattooga's got 2 wins in the region. This is actually a really important region game because if Chattooga could pull the upset here, they would have the inside track to the number 3 spot out of Region 7AA. Of course, Model right now has that inside track. As long as they keep winning, they will be the number 3 seed. Matt, who wins this game?
You know, I think a couple of weeks ago we would say that Model would be the clear choice. I think the fact that Chattooga came out and picked up a 30-0 shutout victory over Gordon Lee last week maybe has kind of changed people's opinion of, you know, Model potentially being an overwhelming, dominant opponent in this game. But at the same time, Model has been a really tough team. The 2 losses they picked up in the region are to the 2 other toughest teams in the region, Darlington and Coosa. And those were both 7-point games. So I think there's a lot left in the tank for Model. I think the biggest thing for Model right now is overcoming the disappointment of losing those 2 games. Yeah. Because when you look at it at the end of the season, that's going to mean that Model ends up in a number 3 and number 4 seed and has to play their playoff game again this year for the 3rd year in a row on the road. And that's something they really didn't want to have happen. So I think this is a key game for Model to try to overcome those feelings and get out and just take it 1 week at a time. I think Model's a better team. I think they'll win the game.
Yeah, Chattooga surprised me last week. They just laid it all over Gordon Lee. I was covering the Model Coosa game last week. Great game. I think if I remember correctly, I did pick Coosa in that game, but that was a coin toss in all honesty. It was a 7-0 game, and both teams had chances to score more points. Obviously, we had an opening touchdown the first 3 minutes of the game and no scoring for the rest of the game. It wasn't from lack of trying, however. Both defenses quite good. Look, I'm not so sure Chattooga can actually score on Model's defense. Model's going to be able to score a few touchdowns on Chattooga. Blue Devils win. I still think they're going to be the number 3 seed unless something crazy happens in the next couple weeks between Coosa and Darlington. Dade County at Coosa. Speaking of Coosa, the Eagles now undefeated in the region after the big win over Model last week. Dade County, we all thought at the beginning of the year was going to be a team that was going to challenge. They have not challenged for much of anything so far this season. Matt, can the Wolverines pull the big upset at Coosa?
I mean, I don't think it's totally out of the question. You know, Dade County 2-5 this year so far, 1-2 in the region. They've been shut out 3 times, and I think one of the big things with them is their quarterback's been hurt, and that's made a big impact on their ability to score points in games. They've just not done a very good job on offense and on defense for that matter. Coosa, they have a very tough defense. You know, seeing them play against Model the way they did, I wouldn't say they shut them down, but they slowed Nikyle Watkins down enough to keep, you know, Model out of the end zone in that game and did a really good job. So I think Coosa is a really, really strong team. And it's kind of interesting because when we came into the season, we said Coosa's going to be good, but everybody's been talking about Model and Darlington the most, and so they've kind of been flying under the radar. But they've reeled off, what, 5 straight wins in a row?
I believe it's 5 straight wins.
They could make it 6 with this game, undefeated in the region. And if they're able to do that, and Darlington, they should win this weekend, that's going to be your region championship coming up next weekend, more than likely, between those 2 teams. But I think Coosa will play hard in this game and they'll win.
Yeah, I also think the Eagles are going to win this game. I mean, there are 2 things I look for in this game to watch out for. Number 1, the letdown effect. You know, you're really high after the win over Model, and they were pumped. They were excited. You know, talking to Coach Wheeler afterwards, you know, I said, this is what we're looking for. We want to win. We want to be county champions. We want to be region champions, and they are on the path to do just that. Look, the reason Coosa flew under the radar is they had 2 season opening losses to Class 5A teams. You know, I mean, those were tough losses, but they played 2 tough teams that made them better. Ever since the second half against Rockmart, they have been lights out so far this season. You know, Dade County, you know, I think this could be an interesting game, but I just don't see Dade being able to score enough points to stay with Coosa. I think the Eagles win, setting up the epic matchup next week that Matt has already mentioned with Darlington. Moving to Region 7-5A, Subregion A, Sequoia at Rome. Most people may be wondering why this is such a big game. The key point here, Sequoia and Rome are both 2-2 in the region. The winner of this game has the inside track to the number 3 seed and a chance to play to get themselves into the playoffs in the region play-in game last week of the season. Matt, Rome came back with a big win last week. Can they make it 2 in a row of beating Sequoia?
I think the same things apply in this game as any other game we've talked about Rome in recent times. Win the turnover battle. They've been turnover prone. When they turn the ball over, as any team, things don't go well. You know, few penalties in the game, those sorts of things, you know, the fundamentals and executing plays and whatnot. And I think Rome's getting better as the season goes on. I think their explosiveness on offense is what's going to pull them through in this game, and the fact that they're playing at home. So I think this could be a close game, but at the end of the day, I just think Rome has enough offense to win the game.
It all comes down to turnovers, in all honesty. If Rome can have 1 or fewer turnovers, they're going to do well. The defense at times has looked better, looked a lot better against Woodland last week. There was some rushing attack to go along with that patented Josh Perkins to Jai Creamer, hook up with passes. The two of them just setting records left and right for the Wolves. This year, that offense can score a lot of points. They will score more points. It's at Barron Stadium. It's senior night. Look, I think Rome's going to win this game. I think Rome, I don't know if they're going to get in the playoffs, but I think they're going to have the chance to get in the playoffs. That's what they want. They know what they have to do. They're going to take care of business. It could be a close game. It will definitely be a good game to watch at Barron Stadium on Friday night. I say the Wolves win. A couple of quick picks before we go into the commercial. Darlington at Armurchie. Armurchie's having a tough season. I think they're better than they were last year. I don't think they're going to present too much of a problem for the Tigers. Tigers win. Matt? I
agree with you. You mentioned, maybe a little bit better than last year. At the end of the season, though, the record's not going to reflect that because you have Armurchie playing Darlington, and then their last game of the year is against Coosa. So they have 2 really tough games to go. I'm afraid they're going to go 1-9 again. There's still a lot of work to do there. Darlington's a strong team. This is the clear pick here, Darlington.
Moving to our lone GIC AA school, Unity. Unity had the big win against Covenant Christian last week. Talking to Coach Mark Ackerman after the game, he said, we decided to run the football, and they ran it, and they ran it, and they ran it, and guess what? They ran it some more. Look, John Hancock Academy is winless so far on the season. I think Unity takes them back behind the woodshed at Ben Brady Field, if there is a woodshed. Maybe there's an aluminum shed, I don't know, and whips them. I say the Lions win. Matt?
Well, they got a couple of porta toilets over there. I don't know about a shed. But anyway, John Hancock, as you mentioned, they're winless. Well, they played like 6-7 games.
I think they're 0-7 unless I'm badly mistaken.
Yeah, so this one I think is another one of those clear picks. I'll go with Unity.
After the break, we have another 5 or 6 games that we're going to pick real quick as we head into the latter part of the season. Stick around.
Georgia Northwestern Technical College wants to help put you to work. Our programs in business, health, industrial, and public service will train you for the jobs available today. GNTC offers schedules in day, evening, and online classes at 5 campus locations with financial aid options too. You are sure to find a career path that works for you with our variety of degrees, diplomas, and certificates available. Visit us in person or on the web at gntc.edu. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your career begins here.
Wow, okay. Welcome back to the show. As always, we'd like to thank Georgia Northwestern Technical College for bringing the Emmy-nominated Gridiron Central show to you for the last 8 seasons. 7 more games to talk about. A lot of these we are going to go very quick on. We start as Central Carroll visits Cedartown. Bulldogs having a tough season. Central Carroll looks like the class of Region 5 AAA. It's at Cedartown. I don't think it matters too terribly much. They could play this on the moon, and I still think Central Carroll wins. Central Carroll wins running away. Matt?
Here's the deal. Central Carroll has played 7 games, and they've not given up more than 7 points in any one of those 7 games, and their offense is killer. They're scoring a lot of points. This one's a clear pick. I'm going with Central Carroll.
I believe, unless I'm badly mistaken, they've given up 24 points total on the season in those 7 games. Do the math. That doesn't turn out well for hardly anybody. Callaway, except for Central Carroll, that is. Callaway at Pepperell, the Dragons are still looking for their first. No, I can't remember if they're for. Have they played Harrelson yet?
Pepperell?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, they will get the win against Harrelson. Whether they can beat Cedartown, we don't know yet. Callaway at Pepperell, I think the Dragons, Callaway is not as good as Callaway has been in the past, but I think they're still good enough. I think they will beat Pepperell. Matt?
I think the side of the ball that's been most troubling for Callaway has been the defensive side of the ball. They've given up a lot of points this year, but they do still have a pretty powerful offense. Pepperell, they only have one win under their belt this year, and that win was over a team that only has 3 wins and is a AA school, even though Pepperell was in AA last year. It's just a tough year in Lindale. There's no question about it. So I think Callaway will win this game pretty easily, 2 or 3 touchdowns maybe.
Gotcha. I mentioned Haralson County a moment ago. They're traveling to play Rockmart. It's homecoming for Rockmart. Good homecoming opponent. The Yellow Jackets will beat Haralson, Matt.
No question about it. Haralson has no defense. They're giving up a ton of points. I think this will be an easy win for Rockmart.
Moving up to Region 6 AAA, North Murray at Adairsville. The Tigers continue to look good. Look, as if Adairsville wins out, they are your number 2 seed from Region 6 AAA and will get a home playoff game in the first round of the Class AAA playoffs. I've said all season I think the Tigers can make some noise in those playoffs. North Murray does not derail them. The Tigers win. Matt.
The Tigers, I mean, they're great in all 3 phases of the game. They've only lost 1 game. That was to the mighty, mighty Calhoun Yellow Jackets. Otherwise, they've more or less dominated everybody on their schedule. So I think this may not be an easy game the entire way, but I think towards the end, you really see Adairsville pull away.
Definitely. Speaking of the mighty, mighty Yellow Jackets, Murray County comes calling. Of course, Calhoun had a bye week last week, so they didn't win or lose. That's just about the only way they don't win. Look, Calhoun wins big. Running clock in the second half. Matt?
I tip my cap to Murray County because they definitely improved, and they picked up, what, 2 wins so far on the season?
Well, they beat Gordon Central last week.
Okay, they beat Gordon Central last week, and they've been scoring points in every game. I can remember some games in recent years where they didn't get on the board.
I can remember some recent years where they did. I don't think they scored hardly at all the whole season.
Exactly. So, you know, but still, it's Calhoun. They're going to beat them really bad.
Exactly. Moving on, LFO at Sonoraville, a game that actually has playoff implications. Both LFO and Sonoraville have a chance to be that number 4 seed out of Region 6 AAA. And, you know, this is a big game. The Phoenix need to win here. Excuse me. If Sonoraville gets to win, they do have that inside track for the number 4 seed. I believe it's the exact same thing with LFO. I think the Phoenix are going to get the win. I think it could be close, but I think their offense and defense is just too much for LFO. Matt?
I agree with you. Sonoraville is just a better team. LFO has this game, then they've got Calhoun. They got a lot on their plate right now, and I think it's going to be too much. Sonoraville wins.
I agree with you. One last game to pick, and it's kind of tough up in Tryon. Tryon travels to play Mount Perrin. The Bulldogs are now 0-2 in Region 6A. They've fallen in the power rankings to about 19th or 20th, which means if the season ended today, they would not be in the state playoffs. Mount Perrin is undefeated in the region, looks extremely strong, looks like they have a good team. You know, I hate to say it, but I think the Bulldogs are going to fall again. What do you think, Matt?
I agree. Not only are they undefeated in the region, they're 7-0, and they're scoring a ton of points, and their defense looks like it's pretty stout as well. So, you know, I hate to say a team doesn't have a prayer, because you always got a prayer when you get out there, but obviously Mount Perrin's the favorite, and I think they'll win the game pretty easily.
Well, I think Tryon has a prayer, but they're going to have to play a perfect ball game. I think that's the key there. And that's the thing with a lot of these teams is, you know, we say, oh, they're going to lose. You know, if they play a perfect ball game, there's always a chance to win. You just never know. Where's radio going to be this week?
We are going to be at Coosa for the Coosa Day County game.
Gotcha. Good game. Solid game. Solid game. Well, make sure you listen to them on the radio. Come to PrepCentralOnline.com Friday night for live scoring updates from all of our games, and come back later to see articles and photos and read the newspaper the next day. For Jackson Witzel, Matt Davis, I'm Jim Allred saying we'll see you on the sidelines.